Coming up on Verbatim, we discuss USD's 10-year plan to maintain campus buildings and what they have in store for the future.
Plus, we took a look at this past weekend's AWOL trip.
And we have the world of USD in 60 seconds.
Verbatim starts right now. Welcome back to another episode of Verbatim. I'm Trent Opstedahl.
And I'm Abbey Schieffer. We are taking you behind some of the stories in the Volant. A new issue is on newsstands today and on volantonline.com.
Abbey is a reporter for the Volant, and she joins me today to talk about renovations being planned for USD's buildings on campus.
Yeah, so, we walk around campus and we see all these beautiful buildings and the structure of them and how old they are, yet USD is actually planning on remodeling and demolishing some of the buildings here on campus.
Mm-hmm. And you wonder how they plan for these different projects, and so we decided to check into this, and we found out they have a 10-year plan, and basically what they do is they list different projects for every year of what they want to do. And so when you look at this whole 10-year plan, it's kind of interesting. They've budgeted a little more than $109 million to complete, this 11-page list of projects they want to do. But the catch here is that USD's maintenance and repair budget is only about $6 million a year. So you can't really do this huge list. It just does not add up.
Right.
But it's kind of interesting, the different projects, and we just wanted to talk today about different things that we think are interesting, just point out a few, and just highlight some of the projects they want to complete in the next 10 years.
Right, and we talked about priority and how USD determines what projects are going to get done first. I know Julian Hall has been a huge issue on campus and talking about demolishing it completely in the year 2019, I believe. And so they are planning on actually demolishing that completely, and that will take alone $750,000. And also with Notaboom, that will also cost $750,000 to get rid of.
So a very, very big project here, especially with especially Julian. They have the asbestos problem in there, and so that's going to just be a very, I would imagine, big task to undertake, just because of that asbestos problem and all the issues it can cause when you try and tear down that with those kind of buildings that have asbestos. So looking across to the other side of campus, they've got a lot of things planned for the Dakota Dome that I think are interesting. The biggest thing for me, when you go in there at the football field, they have the two big athletic nets hanging behind the end zones there. They want to replace that athletic netting, and that alone will cost $230,000 when they plan to do that in 2026.
Right. And we also heard that the USD Dome wants to update their scoreboard, and that alone costs $500,000. So it's just crazy to think, something that you wouldn't think would cost that much does, and everything, adds up, and they, you wonder how much they can spend a year and what will be done first.
Yes, and we have all these big projects listed here, but we also wanted to talk about some of the smaller ones that you don't really think about. Every year USD wants to replace, like light bulbs, and they need to do upgrades to sidewalks, and there's different small maintenance projects that kind of get overlooked and you don't really think about. And for example, they are planning to replace the whiteboards in different classrooms throughout campus in 2022, and that project alone costs $52,000. So kind of a simple project, but it does cost quite a bit of money. And as well, they want to do a little replacement with the hand dryers in restrooms, and that again is going to cost a little over $50,000. So two basic things that we really need, but it does cost quite a bit of money, and it all adds up. And so we wanted to look into that a little more, and so in this week's Volant, we talk about the fundraising struggles that come with this, especially people don't want to donate to projects that aren't sexy. They don't want to donate to the demolishing of Julian Hall. It's not interesting enough compared to the Dakota Dome renovation going on right now with the new arena and sports complex. So.
The Volant received copies of all the renovations schedule of changes from the university. And we have taken this data and turned it into this chart on our website to be able to break down every building and where the money's being spent on the campus. So the Dakota Dome, for instance, is getting 7.9% of the projects here. We also broke it down by map here and by the location, so you'll be able to see where on campus a majority of these changes will be taking place. You can view the map and all the data at volantonline.com.
Friends and family, classic cars, live music, and tasty food. This past weekend, Vermilion hosted its annual Ribs, Rods, and Rockin Roll event. The Volant's Krystal Schoenbauer has the story.
Classic cars, the sound of rock and roll, and the smell of barbecue were just some of the things that people could experience this weekend in downtown Vermilion. The 11th annual Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll event took place last weekend. Main Street was filled with classic cars and bikes that ranged in different styles and colors. There were also a variety of different cooking competitions that competitors could participate in. Expert was crowned the grand champion of the competition. The event was inspired by barbecues from the 1930s and 40s where locals would use corn cobs as their main heat source. The event is filled with history, culture, and people.
Coming up after the break, we will be taking a look at some of the highlights from AWOL's first trip of the season.
We'll be back in just 15 seconds.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Some students spend their weekend helping a local community farm. The Volant's Sydney Mook has the story.
Some students spent their weekend helping others. Members of AWOL spent Saturday afternoon at Hike's Family Farm picking fruits and vegetables, as well as pulling weeds as a part of their alternative weekend. AWOL member Razel Rubel says that he believes that helping the community is important because he believes that students can expand their reach beyond USD.
As USD student, I would say we're always a part of Vermilion community. So whatever is good for Vermilion, that is good for us.
To find out more information about AWOL, check out their Facebook page.
Each week, the Volant covers stories that matter to USD students. We take a look at some of those stories around campus. It's the world of USD in just 60 seconds.
On Saturday, students in the community had the opportunity to break out their running shoes. The annual Nikki's 5K and Walk was held on Saturday morning. All the proceeds will go to contribute to suicide awareness and USD students in crisis situations.
Students had the opportunity to go to a local state park this past weekend. There they learned about types of prairie grasses and the restoration efforts that are being made to the park.
This past Saturday, the USD ROTC had a training program where they learned how to sight the rifles, fire weapons, treat wounded soldiers, and how to properly throw a grenade. They were also given 40 rounds and were told to hit a target. Depending on how well they did during their target practice, they have the opportunity to win titles such as marksman, sharpshooter, or expert.
Here's what's happening this week at USD. If you're thinking about studying somewhere else, check out room 212 in the Muck on Wednesday from 5 to 6. There will be hot cocoa and a Q&A about questions you may have about studying abroad.
The first home kite football game will be on Saturday at 2 p.m. Before the game, you can tailgate right outside the Dakota Dome. Come on out and support your fellow Yotes.
Thanks for joining us today on this week's Verbatim. A special thanks to Coyote News for letting us use their studio.
Coyote News will be live at 5 and again at 6 p.m.
Be sure to tweet us with the hashtag USD Verbatim.
We'll see you again next week.